here. I know that Renekton in general has been a talking point, but specifically for Hauntzer because of how much of the regular season he did play on the pick. Instead, it is Rakan getting locked in first for Dignitas. So Poome will have that support that has been so contested by both of these support players.
So they could easily grab the Xayah also and get the duo for themselves. TSM knew that in their first 2 picks, but I like immediately getting Bugi back on the Sejuani. He does so much as far as the playmaking for the team. So many engages, so many picks for them. Even though they know they're giving up possible Xayah Maokai.
Yeah, I think it would be very smart to grab the Xayah here. So powerful with the Rakan. And Tomo has had decent games. There's a couple times where he gets caught out of position at the start of fights and gets exploded, but if he's able to actually get his DPS out, he does a very good job of actually pumping that damage out. Sometimes looks for big plays. We've seen him on Kaisa before go flying in that last game, that flash on the turtle, buying them time in the game.
Dude, that should have been game winning.
It should have been.
That should have been. Oh, we're gonna get.
You're tilted for him. It's okay.
I was tilted for him for sure. But there they go. They do lock in the Xayah Maokai.
Yep, good to see that combination come through. This does mean that we'll see what happens with the Jace. It's something that had been first rotationed, I believe, or first phased every game so far in this series. So might get banned out here, and we might start seeing some different mid picks, given the fact that the Tristana has already gotten rid of as well.
And Sett locked in here for TSM, so a return for Chime, as this pick has been coming in more and more within playoffs specifically. And now going through the rest of the banning phase, we still don't know the top lane pick for Dignitas. So TSM taking out some of the ones we have seen from Rich in the past, and there's the Renekton for TSM, no longer an option.
And I think because TSM would like to have Hauntzer on a tank, they're banning away the Alawi, expecting the Ksante as well to be up there. So they're banning away some of these carry tops that Rich has used into tanks. And if the data for this split is to be believed, Hauntzer is looking towards the Ornn. I personally, even though I didn't bring out this split, he has had so much more success on the Sion. And we just have not seen Sion in so long. It actually pairs pretty well.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential options. It's a very interesting position.
Malphite
right now.
Is still up. He loves the Malphite.
I was going to say Malphite. Technically, you can grab the Ksante yourself. That's what they end up doing. I do like that angle quite a bit. The question is, if you don't grab that, the Jace will probably go over to Dignitas if they want to grab it here, and then they can decide what to do with it. And that does give counterpick most likely to either decide if you're flexing the Kaisa mid or if you're actually going to slam a different mid laner. Very interesting position. And Jensen going back to old, reliable, tried and true, front to back team fighting. Give me the Azir.
Azir is one of those picks that most mid laners that have been around for quite some time can pilot, but Jensen particularly should be feeling very comfortable on the Azir and thus very empowered in the team fighting to come.
Second most all-time played champion for him, 65 games across his career. Only a 53% win rate. Not quite as dominant as his Orianna and other champions.
I mean, his Orianna is massive dominance, though. Most played champ and over 70%.
Whoa!
It's hard to match.
Insanity with the counter pick.
Finally!
Xerath.
Yes! Finally! We actually I actually talked to him and to Palfox both about this pick specifically, and especially into the Azir. Azir, always, through a history of this champion, weakness of poke. And Xerath right now, this is with the changes to the Xerath ultimates, getting more ultimate shots and then having the increase on the successive damage hits. Plus you have the Kaisa who can go snipe Kaisa build. So much poke damage here. The only drawback to this Xerath is getting ganked and getting Azir swept. So that may seem like a big weakness to some people.
It's a pretty big weakness when you're into Rakan and Maokai in the late game. If you're not well positioned on this Xerath, you are...
One team is definitely going home at the end of this game. What a scrap it has been to get here, especially considering game number 4 went 45 minutes. But I do love that there is no attempt at going safe in the draft this time around. Insanity bringing out one of the picks that was recently touched on 13.14. Kobe, I know you seem very excited about it. These changes specifically trying to empower him more in mid, even though Xerath has been around in support for quite some time. Chime.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. The other side of this that we didn't get to touch on because it was so quickly slammed is the Gwen for Rich. They banned out a couple of the counter picks that can slam tanks, but they did let this one through. Does force a lot of magic damage up on the top side of the map. So very easy itemization for Hauntzer and Bugi, but it is a champion that can 1v9 if she can get ahead.
I love Vulcan, always the memer. Can't keep him down. Tropical Vacation sounds pretty nice right about now. Nope, moving on in playoffs sounds even better. Jensen continuing his world streak sounds even better. So both these two teams, obvious elimination match as we are in the last game of this elimination series of playoffs here. And we got some spicy counter picks. Yeah, the Gwen counter pick into Ksante. We've seen that before, okay?
I'm not saying it's spicy, I'm saying it might be relevant.
Ksante players have adapted. They buy an early no magic mantle, boom, there's your adaptation. Don't rush the Iceborne Gauntlet, you'll be fine.
Do you only like new and shiny things, Kobe? What about vintage? You know?
I never shop at vintage stores. I definitely like the new and shiny. Novelty is premium. And honestly, I want to see how mid lane is actually going because Jensen got the early shove on the wave for the first couple of waves here for Insanity, but Insanity should still be able to pick everything up. Yep. Still keeping himself quite nice and should end up with more CS in the end after he clears the rest of that wave. Meanwhile, junglers again, both of them starting on red quadrants will be opposite side clears. Bugi will path down towards bottom side and he will not get seen by this little ward that Jensen has, trying to see this gank if Bugi continues his clear down towards his blue buff and wraps all the way around to just do the normal full clear Sejuani. This ward only sees if Bugi was going to wrap around for an early level 3 gank, but Bugi pops, never mind, he pops the Scryer's plant, boom. Everybody knows where you are now.
Bit of a double-edged sword there. Bugi says, okay, there's a ward, can't gank through there. Dignitas says, okay, there's Bugi, but not going mid, going to protect this crashing wave on the bot side.
Knocks up two, and Bugi's waiting in try, but Poome and Tomo, considering the recent intel, are making sure not to push up too aggressively and prioritizing clearing out this wave. Now Bugi moving through the enemy jungle towards mid. You can see some pings coming out on that mid lane as Jensen moves up to try to clear out this wave.
Yeah, Insanity cancels his recall though, with Bugi hovering around, potentially looking for Jensen to get over aggressive, who have been armor shoving as aggressively as he could.
Bugi and Chime nearby, but Jensen simply stunned up under the turret. A decent amount of time spent here across mid to try and get that advantage, but no angle to be taken.
And Insanity should have Lost Chapter, probably running Futures Market along with his first strike here. Started with the Mana Crystal, so probably should be able to get a very early Lost Chapter for himself. Has teleport to get back. Bugi did spend a lot of time running between mid and bottom, so Bugi is falling a little bit behind on his clear, but he can finish it up now. Go grab his blue and Gromp after securing that safety.
You see Insanity trying to rush to that with the Mana Crystal start will make the lane phase a lot easier because even though Xerath has that mana restoring passive, against Xerath you're realistically, or against Azir, excuse me, you're not able to usually get that auto attack off to get the bonus mana regen from it, so you're stuck hitting creeps, which doesn't refund nearly as much mana. And with this start, you can of course get Lost Chapter on an earlier power spike, so you do want to force the reset hopefully before Azir can match on the Lost Chapter, but they are stuck in lane a little bit.
See that mana pool on Insanity being carefully tended to, and Tomo and Poome continually pushing up down here bot. They reach level 4 ahead of their lane opponents and have been shoving that wave up. The dragon just now spawning with wards favored by the TSM side. But I am excited to see what Insanity is able to do on this pick. First time played in the LCS since 2019.
Yeah, now is where we start to see it fully take off. So Lost Chapter acquired, and at level 5, you get your 3 ranks in your Q, starting to do a lot more damage, helping out a lot more out with the wave clear / harass onto the Azir, because you're always looking to try and get these Qs and these combos through to hit the Azir as well. Notoriously low sustain on that champion. Jensen has 2 potions and 2 biscuits still for himself to try and help sustain through it, but Insanity even went as greedy as to get the refillable for himself along with his own Dark Seal. The other thing, of course, about the Xerath is with the ultimate and having the extra shot now added to it. You are both rewarded for hitting earlier shots, increasing the damage of successive shots, but you can really make these plays where you hover just to one side and you can make a bottom side play. You know, your jungler is doing some sort of work down there, trying to play off the setup from something like a Sett, and then the Xerath ultimates can come in and finish the job for you or be the thing that does turn the tides. What you have to watch out for, of course, post level 6 is the Azir sweeps, and you have to be very safe with your positioning and your flash. That's where the range comes in, Mark.
And of course, if you can't land those skill shots, it becomes much, much harder to actually get the shove. You do outrange the Azir, but if you are sending your skill shots at him and he's not grouped up the wave, hold on here.
He's making the play. Chime gets rooted, knocked up, double time by Poome. So Bugi cannot follow up. Good battle dance back, and now level 5 for Tomo and Poome to continue this pressure.
And even though we don't see the actual play there, and they make the call, hey, Dig are gonna escape from this bottom side gank, no problem. Here we go, counterplay.
Poome wants to continue following up on this. Ignite Roan and Chime haymaker out to try and answer Jensen on the pursuit. But that's first blood. Jensen gets the kill credit, and Dignitas with a good start.
Yeah, really good heads up play there from Poome. They chase down Chime, don't let him escape, and it turns into a Dignitas play. It was TSM trying to make the snap play on bottom side. You saw Insanity, if you're looking at the minimap, start to hover down there, by the way. But they're unable to make the play and then turn around immediately with the Ignite on him. They chase him down, they get their first blood bonus, and guess what? It went onto Jensen Azir.
Feels great for him. Bugi a little bit not in range for the play to throw his ultimate there to combo with the Sett. And Jensen getting first move. This is, you talk about the last time Xerath was played in 2019. I'm almost positive that was Bjergsen game where he played it as a counter pick into the Azir. And a similar thing happened where not enough skill shots seemed to be able to land, didn't get enough of an advantage in lane phase, and didn't have a huge impact in the game. I'm worried that that's the same case here, second time around for Insanity. Has not yet gotten any shove in the wave, hasn't gotten a ton of poke, and down CS now.
And that's why I point out the mini-map from the last time around, as we see Bugi now making a look towards top side with Rift Heralds up, Santorin's gonna start it. But if you saw in the mini-map, while Jensen was pushing mid lane, Insanity half walked down when TSM tried to make their bottom side play. So then he had to deal with the push, which was a ramification of their attempted play. Now we're gonna see the Rift Herald though.
Bridge rotating towards Santorin. Two members of Dignitas in Pixel, and Poome goes for the knockup. There's the first ult from Insanity, trying to land as much as he can, and Rich did take a lot of damage, but Santorin is the first to fall. WildTurtle, Killer Instinct into the back line, manages to flash for flash, so Rich keeps his life, but loses one of his summoners.
Who wants the Herald
and
Eyeball?
the Herald Eye's just still big chillin'. Poome walking over to pick it up.
Absolutely huge by Poome there to make sure that it's just not a total net loss play for Dignitas. Sneaks into river, grabs the eye from what would have been a horrible play for them. The fact that Insanity was set up in such a good position to snipe down the members of Dig, who get sandwiched between Chime and then Bugi and Hauntzer. And you can just see him pelting over the top over and over again. Yeah, it almost dies as well.
It was actually beautiful how Hauntzer moves them together as well for the double hit on the ultimate on the second shot there too. Artillery mage in action. They got the kill. They pushed him off the Herald, but Secret Agent Poome slipped back in and recovered the eyeball.
The heist.
Right.
All right, he's on the heist team.
Yeah, where was he, man?
Regroup on that one. I think it's good to see Insanity able to get a decent amount of damage down with that first ult and see if Bugi can collapse upon this play. Rich, a lot of CC to him, tries to escape, cannot do so, did use that flash in that previous fight, so is taken down on top side.
Taken down, did not have his mythic completed as well, which is the huge power spike for Gwen, as well as the fact Needlework was down. That is the danger of ganking a Gwen with her ult up. She starts sustaining through, she turns on, has her Riftmaker passive now, and suddenly it becomes very, very difficult to finish her off. They had a great timing window to pull that gank off Bugi. Yet again, finding angles into this game. One at the Rift Herald, now one again topside.
Yeah, maybe it's too much of repeating ourselves, but general sentiment, Bugi good.
Get eyes on Bugi, where is he?
Honestly though, never mind, bottom side again.
All time venturing forward, Tomo and Poome walking out of it because Bugi's coming to play. There is the downtown right of the arcane. Tomo has to ult, but he can't keep his life as a result. And TSM are the ones racking up the kill score in their favor. 1,000 gold lead now just achieved.
And there, you see the aftermath of the story, but it's the half roam. You only have to roam to right here for Insanity to be able to add that damage with the Xerath ultimate to those bot ganks. They drew up the play, they executed on the play. They're getting their resets off before Dragon though. It's a little too greedy with how tanky those mountain dragons are. Insanity, he gets caught by those.
Right there at the end, attempted to stun up Santorin, but does buy enough time so that he can retreat.
Nice play there by TSM, both the Xerath E and Bugi's ultimate, making sure that Santorin could not get in range for a W, keeping Insanity's flash there critically. Even if you don't get that kill against the Xerath, you want to make plays to force the flashes out of him so that the next one, it becomes much easier to actually pull off.
And now you get to see the pain. That is Azir playing against the Xerath. When the Q comes back and hits here, Luden's proc Q onto Jensen, constantly getting chunked out here. Now you get to see the range discrepancies. A lot of effort being put in by TSM to keep some vision around that Xerath. As you said, critical that he was able to hold onto his flash. That is such a big, big piece of safety for this team. And allowing now Bugi and Chime trying to do some work here on these wards behind Dragon, but a little bit dangerous with Santorin and Poome staring them in the face, so they don't want to overstay, and they're just going to leash the Dragon out of the pit.
The jungle and support duos continually working in tandem, their movement through the
Herald
jungle,
mid.
but it's TSM that are focusing on to the Dragon, and the Rift Herald spawned across mid. At first, some lack of agency when it's your support that picks it up, but when your support can roam towards mid, he can drop it right on down, gets some turret plates for Dignitas to try and make sure this gold lead doesn't balloon.
Yeah, nice to get some gold into Jensen's pocket there. No reason to contest that Dragon right there. First one of the game. Rich did have TP, but does not have his mythic still, so you do not really want to be joining in on these fights. So instead, get some gold funneled to Jensen. Hopefully they can grab that last little bit of the second turret plate there. They only got the one so far, but equalizes the gold against Insanity. And I do want to give a shout out to Chime. He's had some really good engages. That first one did get turned around on him, but he, in the Rift Herald fight and then in the pickoff that happened in bot side, a better job setting up these plays because he is the first one to go in, force out the cooldowns defensively from someone like Tomo or Jensen, and then it becomes much easier for Insanity to land the skill shots knowing that they no longer have mobility spells and whatnot to get out of the range of them.
Yeah, big part of the entire idea for this TSM frontline. Being so beefy, having so much CC, trying to set up those carries just to look good. Because we want Xerath to have success here so that more teams start to pick more off-meta champions and we can get some more diverse champion pools.
See, Kobe, you like the new and shiny. I like old and classic. Azir, Orianna, Cassio, Ryze. Give them to me.
You want Corky, Mark? Yeah,
No. Bridge too far.
Okay.
Gosh, when you mentioned the quirky package noise when we were talking about it in the pods earlier, I just thought, no, don't manifest that back. We don't need it. Poome don't need this action from Chime, though. Bugi comes over the wall, but doesn't have to step up any further than that. Tomo did get some time to push that bot wave.
Yeah, honestly, I wonder if we'll start to see some difference here as far as the Gwen as well, because this has also turned out, even with the counter pick, so well for TSM, with Hauntzer having a big impact in the Rift Herald fight, as well as receiving the gank from Bugi and getting that early kill. Like we mentioned, he got the early magic resist just as a piece, and then still is able to get his Iceborne done. So the front line also going to be very healthy for TSM. They've got Dragon number 1, 2 minutes 45 seconds left to set up for the second one, and there's nothing pushing Insanity out of the mid lane, and he's not exposing himself to ganks or to these flash plays. So I think they should be able to keep it under control.
Bit touch and go on the bot side here. Chime has his flash up, and it feels like every time that's available, he is looking for angles to force onto Dignitas' bot lane. You can see him poking ahead, trying to use this brush advantage to find the flash angle double stun with Bugi nearby. Both mid laners keep trying to hover around bot side, knowing this play can happen at any moment.
Yeah, Jensen's heading first here on the Azir, but Insanity can answer from a longer range. So it looks like Bugi gives some priority here over to Dig because of Jensen's early move into the river. Just slips right back, and it's the standoff.
It's the standoff, and it's crazy because Rift Herald's up. It's been up for a couple minutes now, I believe, and both teams have so much pressure around the bot side as we see the potential sweep here.
Jensen.
Oh! Turn away! Camera, go somewhere else! else.
Where's the emo game insanity?
Oh, yeah, honestly, that would have been a perfect moment.
Yeah.
Take notes would be a good choice there, something like that. Any of the tilting ones. Now you've got no Maokai ult and no Azir ult, though, and they're starting it up.
Yeah, this is a surprising force here. Down summoner, or ultimate, excuse me.
Also down support rooms. Chime is here. That is a TSM Herald right there. You better be careful messing with that one.
Yeah, Chime with everything up. All he has to do is run at them to make sure that Jensen can't make his way over.
Oh, they're going for the dive, though.
Back off. There's a Feather Storm from Tomo. Should be able to blade call back. Turtle! Jensen's sidestep it! Turtle! Double kill! WildTurtle! A flip for this one. He's got the play in the bot side.
Damn, Jason still has it, baby. He was there with TSM at the beginning. He's still making it happen. 2v1 outplay on the bottom side. Look at the killer instinct for the first dodge and then the flash.
Absolutely huge here. They want to go from max range. The cleanse ult out of the knockup, meaning he still has his flash available for when Tomo goes for the ultimate here. Or excuse me, the E pullback. So he's able to avoid getting rooted up. Poome took the turret too long. Tomo drops as well. Turtle absolutely broke their ankles on that play. Bugi is just watching. He was on the top side of the map. The entire team rotated up to respect that potential Rift Herald take by Dignitas there. And that means Turtle's exposed on the bot side, but he makes it work by himself in the 2v1.
On his back, he holds the earth, honestly.
WildTurtle finding the time to shine, which you love to see if you are a long-term fan of the LCS. I know that on Hotline League, there was a caller that came in and said he was often in the shadow of Doublelift and Sneaky in his early days, so it's great to see him be able to have that flash-forward mentality, that aggro look that we've known him to have for so many years, and now with TSM on their last life.
And the best part always about these 2v1 outplays or these outnumber tower dives where you're able to make yourself the star is that your team also gets things on the other side of the map because your opponents have overloaded resources to you. That Herald went over to TSM, in addition to Turtle getting those extra kills, and now they want more. Bugi with a rare miss.
Did force the flash out of Jensen, though. Chime had the pullback, but didn't have a stun target, I believe, so Jensen could flash out right away, but still a big win for them here as they posture around this dragon.
Yeah, dragon is still up, just as you mentioned, and Dignitas, they don't look ready to let it go completely. TSM keeping control of the river. They have Scuttle, they have some controls down, and Teleport coming in as well. Multiple Chime up, and now the Nature's Grass drawn down. Root into the back line. Insanity takes a decent amount of damage, but look, Tomo is also pushing Chime out of it. Santorin into the back of the pit. Rich going deep to try and find Hauntzer, but Insanity takes down Santorin, and all the while, it's the jungler lost for Dignitas, which means that TSM feel free to disengage.
Yeah, TSM, that was beautiful. They're kind of wiping the map with them right now. Hauntzer with the ultimate, sectioning them out, and then Bugi's able to escape, walking away from the Dragon Pit. They assassinate the enemy jungler. They can go back to get their purchases off before returning for objective as well. And let's see, Insanity still has some Xerath ultimate charges here ready to go.
The arcane rains from above, and Jensen doing his best to sidestep most.
What is this champion? I'm pretty sure is what that emote means. And it says pretty cool, huh?
He was also dodging enough of the ultimates there not to sustain too much damage. It's still going to give them an objective.
Yeah, it's just one W, and once that lands and the slow is in there, Insanity decides it's time to open up on him and gets the chunk out, gets this dragon for free. That last fight was not the worst angle by Dignitas. They had multiple members of TSM down to around 10, 20% HP. They just couldn't finish any of them off, and that felt like one of the last good angles that Dig might get for a little while now, because it does feel like neutral map play right now is heavily in TSM's favor. They have this annoying Azir who's just poking away constantly, and they still have not been able to force his flash out.
And TSM, they managed to get the Feather Storm out of Tomo, traded for the Glacial Prison off of Bugi, but it's them controlling this spacing. They had gotten that mid turret previously with that Rift Herald, which gives them that agency to move forward and push Dignitas out of their lanes.
Copium for Dignitas side right here is Rich is able to grab this turret. He's going to keep scaling up. The scaling on Gwen very strong as you move into your Nashor's Tooth. You begin getting a lot more 1v1 potential in side lanes, as well as assassination threat in team fights. That last attempt, it was just Poome and Santorin jumped on top of Insanity. If they had a little bit of backup from any of the actual carry members, they could have found that kill. The Xerath will always be very squishy, and if you can blow him up at the start of a fight, hey, maybe that's your way back into the game. So they still have the ability to blow up most members of TSM, but need to be in the right position to do it, and that can be very hard against poke champions.
Yeah, plus the W from the Gwen. One of the only tools you can use against Xerath.
Gwen is immune.
Sniping down. Gwen is indeed immune. But definitely going to have to dig themselves out of a hole here. TSM, there's not much that is going to make them divert from their game plan. Top side, they can just focus down, push out this top turret, get a little bit more standing gold there while having vision control over Baron, but they go for Insanity. He doesn't flash it.
Insanity now flashing away, but gets rooted and knocked back by Santorin. WildTurtle coming in with the killer instinct and going for blood. Picks up the kill onto Jensen, but Dignitas wanting to dish something back. They take down 2, punish him on the entry, and now back off the rest of the fight.
Yeah, they got the shutdown on Turtle, as well as the kill and flash out of Insanity here. Well worth the life of their Azir. Tomo doing a lot of work following up there. Santorin really wanted it.
22 minutes into the game, and Hauntzer stepping up to Dignitas, who have started up on this Baron, looking at Chime alongside Bugi up top, but they can't commit, so Dignitas backing off.
Dignitas not looking as aggressive as they potentially could have there. There was still plenty of length on the respawn timers. It would have been a 4v3 contest. I think they're happy just to finally have found an angle onto Insanity. Nice flash out to potentially stop the Azir sweep from coming in, but too much CC there. This was a huge stun by Chime, grabbing Tomo and forcing the flash and cleanse out of him, making sure they could not chase down to the right side of the fight, because the danger there is if Chime doesn't land that stun, Tomo just cleans up everyone, and then the Baron is definitely gone. Very close to being a game-ending fight there for the side of Dignitas if they could have just won that a little cleaner.
All right, now Jensen has flash advantage. This Xerath, no flash for the first time in the game, will be vulnerable. Maokai ultimate comes back off of cooldown. And even though Poome had to use a lot to get that engaged, once you've got your ultimate back, you can still hex flash for some of these angles and have some super snap engages.
All right, so now WildTurtle alone in mid, knocked up and flashes out. In the end, Chime gets rooted on the entry. The Arcane raining from above once again takes out Jensen, and TSM still standing strong with 3. They lose WildTurtle, but this time around, they come out with more kills into their pocket, 2 at that, and push Dignitas back.
Interesting, because they keep killing the AD carries, so there's not real DPS for the Baron. They're kind of over by that area, but with just the Xerath area, yeah, you can't really go on over there, so they just clear out a couple more of the wards and go for a little bit of a reach there with the Ksante.
Should be a disengage after that, and it looked initially like a great play out of Dig, getting that sweep onto Turtle, but it felt like the focus might have got split between finishing the turret or killing Turtle, because he lived for a surprising length of time, which then forced Rich into chasing him down, as opposed to helping focus the tanks, which were jumping on top of Tomo. Another fight there, which was close to going better in Dignitas' favor, but because they were not able to cleanly kill Turtle, it gave time for Azir to land all these shots from range, and they were able to win that one actually on the side of TSM 2-for-1.
Yeah, and Hauntzer doing a lot of work here. He did a lot of work on the Rumble. He's been doing really well on this Ksante as well. With the Xerath so far away, a lot of that burden of providing some of the damage and the counter threat as Turtle got dove was on him. TSM right back to it though. They push down on mid first and then move into the river for the spawn of Dragon. See how much poke damage they can get down for themselves first. Looks like ultimates are just about to come back off of cooldown for them.
No flash on either carry of TSM. They'll have to do a very good job of making sure there's no flanks coming in and no angle for Santorin's ult to land on anyone.
The Xerath ultimate coming up just now, so there's the poke coming through, tries to zone off Dignitas while TSM focuses down onto the Dragon. Poome has found a lot of good angles for Dig, but too far from the rest of the team to be able to collapse. It is TSM that will pick up yet another Dragon in this game, putting themselves on soul points.
Yep, easy execution there for them. They have Chime just go find Poome and mark the Rakan. If you see that Rakan flank coming with the Sett, you're perfectly countered there. Then they have Insanity pop ultimate and just use your charges on the Xayah Either you're going to chunk the Xayah down so it's vulnerable to a dive, or you're going to get ultimate or some sort of summer spell out of that Xayah. With the amount of Xerath ultis that you can throw at those AD carry champions now, that's a worthy investment before the fight even starts. And so with those two things under control for TSM, they then can just pick up the dragon without Dignitas even coming for that fight.
Yeah, nice positioning by Insanity there. Also, force Rich's W out. Have to do a better job of Rich finding an angle into these fights that's not just charging through the front, because there's so many tools for them to survive through that. On Soul Point now means the next time the dragon spawns, TSM can go for the same setup approach. All the flashes will be back available as well, so it'll be even harder for Dignitas to potentially contest that objective.
Just under 3,000 gold for TSM, but as we noted, Soul Point for them. And it feels like they've been the ones making the aggressive plays against Dignitas, who are attempting to clear out on Baron. We've had a couple of scraps up here, but never any commitment to be able to follow up. Dig had one slight opening, but we're wary of pushing that aggressive play.
Massive, massive magic penetration build here for the Xerath, for Insanity, with his Shadow Flame Sork boots, as well as the percentage magic penetration of his Void Staff completed. This Xerath will just dump out damage, and constantly being fed the blue buffs here. He's almost to his level 16 as well. Once you get your final rank for the ultimate, you just can just start spamming that off on backline members. Doesn't matter. You see Azir, boom, spam it on him, chunk him out. He has no sustain. You see the Xayah, doesn't matter. Spam it out, chunk him down. Either you get an ultimate or something out of it, or you take down a Hell's Hell.
Definitely feels like the ball is in Insanity's hands. If he lands enough poke, Dig have a hard time contesting.
Again, with the start of this, teleport coming in for Dignitas. Bugi ends up flashing away, still rooted, and escapes for the time being, but the flash follow-up. Santorin looking to knock it into the rest of the team. Rich gets the kill. And Dignitas now with no enemy jungler here to contest are on the Baron.
Huge pick for Dignitas. Bugi messing around too much in the river.
Riot of the Arcane already used to get a good chunk onto Tomo, who uses the Feather Storm to escape the rest of the damage, but Poome, sandwiched between Hauntzer and WildTurtle, who ends up Killer Instinct into the back line, does pick up the kill onto Tomo, but answered as Jensen ventures forward. Chime now on the retreat with the knuckle down, and Hauntzer will have to escape with the flash over the back of the pit wall. It is Dignitas holding the Red Bull Baron buff.
Huge for Dignitas. When you're outranged, you always have to immediately take these opportunities that are presented to you. And they know. Bugi's here in the river messing around. They jump onto him. Santorin locks him down. Even when he flashes over the wall, the Maokai ultimate that was already going roots him for the follow-up.
Just more people nearby for the side of Dignitas. Tomo being there, able to pump out this damage onto Bugi. And like you said, flashes away, gets hit again by the second root. Takes that and buys time for Santorin to get in range for a flash W. They blow him up during this time as well. Rich is able to kind of force Insanity back, gets a poke onto him. And because there's no smite, and because the team is actually very high damage, it doesn't matter that Tomo's not hitting it. Gwen brings so much damage to this. Jensen brings so much damage to this. Tomo can absolutely just get jumped on and killed by the side of TSM, and it's still a winning play for the side of Dignitas.
Turtle does go for the 1-for-1 and Killer Instincts in to try and get one of them down, but everybody has to scramble at that point, running for their lives.
So even though TSM had dragon control, they had built somewhat of a gold lead for themselves. It's not like they had major control over the map itself, only 2 turrets for both of these teams. So now Dignitas, with this Baron buff in tow, they have an opportunity to swing back something that was really faltering under the pressure of Insanity, who offers another Right of the Arcane, continually targeting Tomo, the squishiest member. Look how much damage he takes to come down to 200 HP, but it ain't enough.
Don't forget the extra shot they added to that R button. Okay, so last time around, you saw it get the ultimate out of Tomo. This time around, gets most of his HP, but just gonna go back to base and fill that back up since he's got plenty of time before a dragon. Baron buff gonna help Dignitas try and push through mid lane first. Should be able to do it while we see the Ksante split pushing on bottom side for TSM.
Yeah, we're gonna see an engage here out of Santorin.
Santorin locks one. Insanity flashes over the wall, teleports from both sides, but Chime goes into the stasis. Bugi is targeted by Rich, but unstoppable into the backline. Chime has used a showstopper, and Rich trying to get back into the fight, but Hauntzer has targeted him. Xerath picking up the kill onto Rich. 3 fallen for TSM, 2 for Dignitas. still holding on to the Baron buff. They can go towards the Dragon to try and break through the stacking of TSM and deny the soul.
Another close fight and another time where Bugi ends up dropping, so there's no way for TSM to contest this neutral objective. It breaks the Dragon stacking on the side of TSM. Let's take a listen to how it sounded from Dignitas.
Give me a ward, give me a ward. Yeah, give me a ward, give me a ward.
Yeah, warded.
Okay.
Look Xerath.
We don't have to kill him now. Just kill front, kill front.
Kill Sett.
Yeah. Kill Sett first.
Yeah, look at it. That's it. Okay,
Look AD.
Yeah. Get Sand in the ulti now.
Terra's no flash. Terra's no flash.
Kaisa flash.
I'm dead.
Okay.
Just get Dragon. Terra's no flash. Okay, that's good.
Kaisa flash.
Man, you can hear how tense it is. All of them calling out critical abilities. Give me a ward so I can teleport. What targets they should focus down. Dignitas doing a good job figuring out the puzzle of how to beat TSM's comp.
I mean, it was such a good angle for them to be able to have the rich flank coming from mid while the Maokai ult comes from their own side of the map to force the pincer movement onto those 3 members of TSM. They knew, they're like, just get me a ward, let me get there, because they have such a good setup to the fight that they were going to be able to get some sort of advantage for themselves. And again, now the Xerath has no flash as well for this time around.
The good thing for TSM here is that took the entire Baron buff to break that Dragon stacking. If I'm going to be a little critical of Dignitas, they spent so much time setting up for that Dragon. They were there a minute early. That gives Xerath time to just poke you out of that situation. That's exactly what happened. Tomo got hit low, Jensen got hit low. They both had to teleport back into these fights. I think you actually want to avoid grouping early for the neutral objectives, so that way they can't do this and just keep poking you down.
Tomo's getting pretty good at dodging these ultis, though. Only one of them tagging him this time around. All right, Xerath not so hot anymore.
It's still not a fun minigame to play. Yes, you can win that minigame, but I think what you would prefer to do is actually split Rich a little bit more and break up this TSM comp quite a bit, so that way you have less time playing that game.
Another initiation by Santorin, locks onto 2 and into the backline. Poome goes, Insanity being the target, but it's Rich to fall at the hand of Chime. And now Dignitas, they know that Bugi's low, and same can be said for others, but they can't follow up.
And you got to give a shout out to the front line creating that space for TSM. Bugi, when they saw the Maokai ult, he Q charges into the Maokai ult to soak one lane of it to allow his carries to create extra space from the divers of Dignitas and allowing them to win that fight. Because then when the rich flank comes through, the Gwen has no follow-up. The Rakan, even though Poome's able to cover a bunch of distance and finally engage, guess what? There's no follow-up damage for you because you're so far away from your DPS dealers, your damage dealers. To take a look at what I'm talking about here, where Bugi turns, he goes in to soak one line. Hauntzer does the same thing on the Ksante, and then the Gwen and the Rakan are isolated. Same story for Bugi, but he's much tankier on the Sejuani, has his ultimate, or has the healing active as well, and is able to flash back out.
Oh, Chime loses his flash coming out of that replay from Jensen, but very good job peeling, make sure no one could get on top of the Xerath. And I also have to give a shout out to Turtle and Chime, 1v2ing Rich, staying inside of that miss by Gwen, and having that wit's end completed to make sure that you don't just get instantly annihilated from how much damage this Gwen is doing. It's just gonna get harder and harder as she sticks more items into her inventory. Only at 3 right now.
WildTurtle killer instincts towards Tomo, also setting up for that Rite of the Arcane. Tomo not dodging the first, but dodging the last. Then the attention spent onto Jensen. Bugi knocked up in the backline by Poome, but Chime is looking for someone to target, still has a showstopper available, and that's Baron going down for Dignitas to claim. Chime locking on one with a showstopper, but will give his life as a result as soon as Tomo comes into stasis. See if he can finish off multiple members of TSM. WildTurtle locking on to Jensen, who goes into stasis and ends up punishing him for his crimes. Dignitas coming out with the Baron and 2 eliminated on TSM side.
Nerves of steel for Dignitas. They know they don't have a lot of time to work with, so they force on the Baron. They Maokai ult. They keep Bugi outside the Baron pit. They both get that, and then are still able to outplay the fight on the other side, even with the Kaisa trying to blow the ultimate from Tomo into some ultimates from the Xerath. Now we're back into more action here. Hauntzer.
Teleport in for Dignitas. Hauntzer isolated, and TSM getting knocked down. You ain't got no damage with no WildTurtle or Insanity, so Dignitas see the angle to open things up. They take out the inhibitor, and they are looking towards the Nexus. Still 45 seconds before Insanity spawns, and Dignitas committing to the play. Hauntzer putting his body in front of the rest of the team, and Poome making sure to shield up as well. Dignitas Santorin taking some damage, but still locking on. Nature's Grasp will be able to grab some, and Tomo kills him off. Dignitas, it's the last you'll see of TSM in 2023. Dig take the win.
Dignitas with the upset, the number 7 seed taking down TSM after a gutsy Baron call. Like you said, they just kept pushing afterwards all the way through the top side. And the man on your screen, Jensen, Rich, Santorin, the top side of the map coming up huge to make sure they could make it through this tough 5-game series.
Man, so